Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Treacle, and today I'm giving you my top 10 horror movies of the 1980s. Yes, the 1980s, in my opinion, has the best decade of horror movies of all time. The 1980s not only does it have the best horror movies, but I think overall, the best movies in general. And what I mean by that is, I'm talking every genre: horror, action, comedy. It's the best in my opinion. And I'm not saying that just because I grew up during the 80s. It's just a fact. I mean, you look at the 1970s horror movies, which were really good. Then you get into the 80s, were phenomenal. Then in the 90s, it kind of tinkered off till midway through the decade. And then now the 2000s and 2010s, it's making a huge comeback. But the 1980s, in my opinion, is the best decade for horror. But I have a few honorable mentions I would like to go over real quick. And they are The Thing, Motel Hell, Evil Dead, Fright Night, and Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers. All of them are great movies, and some of them would probably be in your top 10. But they just missed out on my top 10, and they're great movies. They just couldn't make my top 10. This was a really hard list. I have here about 50 horror movies that I wanted to squeeze into the top 10. So those are my honorable mentions. So at number 10, we have Maniac from 1981. I just recently watched this movie a couple months ago, and it is freaking fantastic. The killer in this movie is so brutal. It's just crazy that it took me this long to watch it. But I heard there's a remake of it. I think it was 2012. But I always like to watch the original first, and this original is badass. I definitely recommend you check out the original movie as well. It is freaking phenomenal. And yeah, it made my top 10. It squeaked in there. It just got over Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers. Number 9 is Friday the 13th Part 2. This, if everyone knows me, knows this is my favorite Friday the 13th film in the franchise. Even though the most popular opinion is either Part 2 or Part 4. But definitely it's usually one of the first 4, or even Jason Lives, which is Part 6. But I love this franchise. It's my favorite horror movie franchise. Jason Voorhees is my favorite character. I have him, Michael Myers, and Freddy Krueger up on my refrigerator. They're dolls. I wonder if I can show them real quick. There they are on top of my refrigerator. They're Freddy's gone somewhere, but on the end I have Michael and Jason. In the middle I have the Three Stooges, which I am fond of as well. But yeah, Jason Voorhees is my favorite character. And yeah, Friday the 13th Part 2, number 9, had to be in there. Now on other lists, it'd probably be my number ones. Like I said, number 1 in the franchise. But number 9 when it comes to my top horror movies of the 1980s. Number 8 is one I just recently watched, thanks to a few people on YouTube that I watch. Drum Dums and Cody. I watch. I think his name is. I know Drum Dums for one is one of the main ones. But Sleepaway Camp is at number 8, and I gotta tell you, this is another 80s movie that I can't believe I haven't seen. And not only the kills in this movie are fantastic, the third act of this movie alone is well worth it. I really wish I would have been able to see this a lot earlier. But this is a phenomenal movie, and the twist in this third act, I did not see coming. I had no clue that was going to happen. And my jaw was just dropped when it was revealed. And even though this is cheesy, but it's 80s cheesiness at its best, and that's what I love about the 80s horror movies. They can be cheesy. Sometimes there can be some bad acting, but mainly we're watching for the kills. But I'm telling you, the third act of this movie is well worth the watch. And I love the kills and I love the twist ending. Coming number 7 is My Bloody Valentine from 1981. I also love the remake, which I went to the theater and watched that back in 2009 in 3D, which was phenomenal. But the 1981 is a classic to me. It's a Canadian horror film. My hat's off to the Canadians for making this horror movie. I love it. It's a classic. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it's definitely one of my top 10 favorites of the 1980s. And yeah, there's something about this that just, for one, I am claustrophobic. I don't like enclosed spaces, so going down to a coal mine is something that I would not do. That alone scares the crap out of me. But when you got a guy in a mask and in a suit with a pickaxe going around picking people off, that scares the crap out of me too. And like I said, I was 3 years old when this movie came out. I remember this movie, and people don't know, but the original theatrical version of this movie, it was really cut down by the MPAA, Motion Pictures Association of America, if you don't know what that is. This movie originally had about 15 to 20 minutes more, and especially evolved around the kills in this movie. And they were going to give this movie an X rating unless they cut some of the gore out of this movie. That's how gory these kills were. And I really wish they would have left it alone, because it would have been just fine. But they did release, however, another cut of this movie on Blu-ray, I believe, with some of those extra minutes back in there. And one of the kills I'm talking about is the shower scene when the girl's impaled on the shower rod. They actually show that and everything in the original cut, going through and all that. And there's several other kill scenes in this movie that had extras to it, but they were cut. So they had to make those cuts to go from an X rating to an R. But regardless, this is an excellent slasher movie. I love Harry Warden. I love what they did in the remake as well, how they did the switcheroo. But yeah, My Bloody Valentine, 1981, fantastic. Number 6 is the original Poltergeist. Again, I don't mind clowns, but the clown in this movie alone scared the crap out of me. And I love the characters in this movie. The little girl, God bless her heart, I loved her in this movie. It's too bad that she passed away way too soon, because I know she would have been in a lot more movies, especially probably horror movies, which would have been fantastic. Poltergeist, to this day, still scares the crap out of me. I love watching it. I just recently watched the sequels to the original movie, and the second one was pretty good. The third one I really didn't care for, and I didn't like the remake either. Don't even talk about that one. But this original movie is fantastic. The scares, the special effects for this time was phenomenal, and still holds up today, in my opinion. But yeah, Poltergeist, check it out. It's freaking awesome. Number 5 is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Again, this is a cheesy horror movie at its best, but if you are afraid of clowns, then you're not going to like this movie, because Killer Clowns, it is a horror comedy, sort of, but this movie is about these clowns. They come from outer space, but they kill you in a way that's not traditional. They shoot popcorn at you, or they shoot you with cotton candy, and you're wrapped in a cocoon, and then they drain you of your blood. They drink your blood. And they throw these pies at you. Basically, it just melts you down into a big pile of goo and whatnot. But Killer Clowns is one I watch all the time, all year round. It's one of those movies, it's a popcorn movie where you can sit back and just have a good time. But the special effects in this movie are really good. I love the clowns. The clowns are scary as hell. And it's just a great cult classic horror movie in the 1980s. So definitely check out Killer Clowns if you haven't already seen it. Coming number 4 is Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. I mean, really, did you not expect that movie to be on this list? this movie um, gave us a great horror icon in Freddy Krueger. Robert Englund is just genius in this movie. I love Heather Langenkamp as the final girl. And we're introduced to the great Johnny Depp in this movie. And his kill in this movie is my favorite out of the franchise. When he gets pulled out of that bed and then spit back out, it's freaking awesome. And this is just a great slasher movie. I really wish I could have said the same thing for some of the sequels, but this movie is by far the best in the franchise, and will go down as one of the best horror movies of all time. Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. Check it out. Number 3 is Halloween Part 2. I love this sequel to the original 1978 movie. And if you watch my 1970s top 10 horror list, you know what my number 1 is. Halloween 2 picks right up on the same night after Part 1's events. And you have, again, Donald Pleasance chasing Michael Myers. Laurie Strode's in the hospital from her wounds. And Michael goes after her in the hospital. And the kills in this movie are more brutal than they were in the first movie. But you got to have that. You got an iconic character like Michael Myers. You have to show his dominance and what he can really do. And what he does to the people in this movie is fantastic. My favorite kill in this movie is it's in the third act when the nurse is hollering at Laurie in the hallway, and as she gets a little bit closer, Michael comes up behind her and just stabs her in the back and just picks her up. And she's just sitting there in the air. And that's how strong and brutal Michael can be. And I love that about this movie. I love the sequel. I think it's great. I really wish the new movie that was coming out was picking up after this sequel. But I'll work all that out. I'm just happy we're getting a new movie. But Halloween 2, 1981 is freaking awesome. It is a great sequel to the original film. I don't care what anyone says. But yeah, number 3 on my list. Number 2 is a movie I just recently watched again. Happy Birthday to Me. I love this movie. You don't know who the killer is until the third act. And the third act has a hell of a twist, just like Sleepaway Camp does. And it blew me away. I don't really recall watching this movie when I was a kid. Some say that I probably have, but I didn't remember it, so I watched it anyway, and I freaking loved it. I love this movie, and it's going to be one that I watch every year now, especially during the month of October. It's just a great 80s horror movie, and definitely check it out. If you haven't seen it, the twist alone, just like the Sleepaway Camp, they're both worth watching those movies for the third act. So definitely check it out. And my number 1 horror movie of the 1980s, it is also my favorite vampire movie of all time, and that is The Lost Boys. Yes, The Lost Boys. Besides the cast, the story, everything is great in this movie. You have Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, Diana Weiss. You have Jamie Gertz, and you have Kiefer Sutherland as the leader of these vampires, and it is fantastic. It's so brutal. The scene at the fire pit when they take Michael to get his first kill is so brutal, but it's so badass. These vampires are awesome. But Corey Feldman and Corey Haim are great in this movie, teamed up. Haim's brother in this movie, whose character is Michael. I have drawn a blank with his real name, but Michael is bitten and has to make his first kill to become a full-fledged vampire, and he is resisting that, just like the girl he's interested in and the young boy they have, Letty too. But The Lost Boys, to me, set the standard for vampire movies. Even though I love Fright Night also, and I also enjoy the remake, but The Lost Boys to me just has a special place in my heart. not only for the characters, but the actors, their portrayal of these vampires, and the special effects. The third act is freaking awesome. And yeah, it's just stuck with me all these years, and it still holds up today as my favorite vampire movie and my favorite horror movie of the 1980s. So, other than that, that is my top 10 horror movies of the 1980s. So, in the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions on my list, and let me know what some of your favorite horror movies of the 1980s are. And did you agree with my list? Did you not agree with it? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button and share this video with your friends and family. The more subscribers I get, the more fun it's going to be for me. I'm not doing this for sponsors or money or any of that crap. I'm doing it for fun because I love talking about movies, doing top 10s rankings, and I will be talking about my favorite TV shows here in the next week or so as they're getting ready to start their fall season. So other than that, I thank you guys for watching this top 10 list, and I'll see you guys next time at my next top 10 or movie review. Check you later.